All right, welcome back. Happy Friday. Today we're going to cover section 7. Let me bring that up in the computer. Here, timeline editing techniques and new tools to play with. I've got some new cameras that were hooked up over here, just so that you can kind of see where our keyboard is and where I'm at with things. And we also have the ability to show you just the keyboard. That's as good as I can get it without bringing in a big expensive lens for this, so it's pretty decent. And I'll include somewhere the factory picture and all of its stuff where, as I talk about things, you'll be a little bit more oriented to it. Okay, so let's come over here and on parts 73, 74, and 75, those skills, let's just address those real quickly. They were pretty simple stuff. The first thing he wanted to address with us was the difference between the media pool page here, shown down here. We can click on the media pool, and this is where we brought everything in. And then back to the editing page, and down here, which is the timeline. So note when we're down here in the timeline and we click on a clip, it comes up here and it gives us the name of the clip, and then it says movie 1 because, well, that's what we named our timeline. And it puts it in the preview part of that, and it makes this clip editable at that point in time. Zzz, if you see me moving it down here on the top, and it also behind the keyboard here. Let me just move the keyboard out of the way real quick because I'm doing this with the mouse. Or if I move this up here, you see I grab a hold of the little thing. You see where I'm moving it. So also, it's important to note that these are handles, okay? Here and here are handles, and down here is the same thing. So if you moved this in, and you see when I'm moving that, here it has the, come on, it shows you the little highlight next to it. It actually means that there's more of that video left, okay? So let's give this a Control Z and put it back to where it was. Handles, right and left side. And that's going to be important because when we put any kind of clip down later, we always want some kind of handle on it so that there's a place to put transitions, for example. There's a room for fine adjustments, which is what this whole section is all about, and different ways to do very fine adjustments and fast ways to do fine adjustments. Okay, so what else did we miss here? Let's have another quick look at that. So we've got the handles, timeline, and the focus of this section. I think we're probably pretty good. So I'm going to call this one good for now, and I'm going to uh, go back over and get ready to show you skill 76. All right, talk to you. Skill 76 here, how to edit timeline clips in the source monitor. So let's come down here back to ours. And we're going to come up here to the upper right hand corner, and this is all going to be mousing, and there's some direct keys to this, and I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I will as time goes on here. We're going to have lots of opportunities to get this going with the keyboard, but let's move down here real quick and start with this one here. And bring this entire clip is in, and we're going to bring it down. And we're going to give that a double click. And note that this entire clip, it has no in and out points on it yet. But it is up here in the source monitor. You can just change that back and forth if you want. And let's get that back up here. And so what he was talking about here is where we can move this along. Here's our handle, and let's kind of scrub along and see where he wants this to go. Okay, so let's put that there and put our first handle in. And where do we want to go to the next one? And that guy jumps through the tree. I think that's where he left off. Well, let's wait till he gets to his feet, I think. And then we'll move the other handle over and then grab a hold of the clip and move it up to the next one. Same thing here. Let's move our head over a little bit, move our videos over. I'm not showing you the keyboard right now. Like I said, this is all mousing. Move our head over and come over here to the next one that he put in. And just drag that all the way down, put it right here. And there is an endpoint on here, but let's move that out of the way for the moment. That's so I think on this guy here, he wants our endpoint. Where'd it go? Yeah, I think he wants our endpoint right about here. So let's go ahead and mark that in there. And this guy's going to hop over, hop onto it, and put our out point there. I did use the in and out on the keyboard's in and out keys here, back and forth. Same way you would use the I and O keys over here. Same thing. You'll notice they're both white. In and out here. It's just kind of set up a little nicer over here. And there we have our second edit to just grab and bring over to here. Another thing you can do is you can just highlight between the two and say ripple delete, and that'll bring that over there. It didn't marry up. Let's undo that. The sound was not linked. And that should have brought them both over, but let's just move them both for now just to save time. And we'll get ready for the next skill. Okay. Okay, so skill 77, how to perform a basic trim in the selection mode. Okay, this is pretty simple stuff. Okay, again, we got our main thing here, and you notice there's no in and out points on the up here at all. So we're just going to grab it, drag it down to the timeline, and move it over here so we can see everything that's going on. Again, more mousing around, not my favorite, but we're going to work out the keyboard here a little bit later on. So I kind of forgot where he started this. I think it was right about here. But so he leaves this timeline right here. You'll notice everything's happening. Then twirls over here. We're still in the selection mode here, and grabs the end of it and moves it right to the timeline. I don't know why those things didn't move, but there you have it. That's all there is to it. And then moves to the other part on the other side where he wants to end it. And let's end it right there, and grabs its handles and moves that handle there. Sorry, this thing keeps jumping around. I don't know why it does that, but that's part of the downside of mousing around. And then moves the entire clip back over here with the endpoint. So that's all there is to it, and that's a foundation point because there's something cool coming up here with the letter E. All right, we'll see you in a second. Okay, on the next one here, maybe a little bit more. This guy, I got to tell you, this was a very confusing thing here. So let's try 78 and 79 together. That's going to be how to perform a basic trim and edit. And 79 is to how to perform an extended edit, which is kind of cool. And I could see where that one was actually going to be handy at some point. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here to the media pool and drag down bike stands, that clip there. And let's just get rid of the sound. We don't really need that right now. And let's move over from our selection tool to our trim edit mode tool. And you'll notice that there's a couple of brackets that now appear rather than the little pointer. And the brackets change from where they are in relation to the clip itself. So there's a couple of ways to trim this. And one of the things that almost always happens when you're in the trim mode is it almost always does a ripple delete, meaning that if you have this gap here, it takes care of it for you, where it's just a time-saving thing. So let's come back over here for starters and move this up, and then come back to the trim mode. So as we are looking at this, you notice when I get my little guy there towards the cut point, the clip between the two clips, you can put your finger down on the mouse and move this to where you want it to start. Now, remember we started him about there? Let me bring this to one big screen. And then you can come over here to the other side and do the same thing wherever you want it to end at. He jumped through and came up. That's where we ended that one up. So let's do one more here. We're going to bring the jump to clip down. And then we're going to do an extended cut here, which is really very kind of slick, I think. So you'll notice now that we have a clip to clip. And so we're going to start this guy about here, wherever he starts to jump. You'll notice that this is a handle. This has only gone so far, and the handles are still all the way. This is the entire clip, and we have not created our handles yet. So where are we going to go? He hops off right about there, so let's come here to our end and bring that control point right to the beginning. Boom, that's where it stops. And where do we want this to end? So let's move our control point down. Why don't we end it right there? So here we are pointing towards the end of the clip, and we're just going to move it over. And there you have it. We can highlight this and delete that. Here, we don't need to mess with the sound right now. And that's kind of the name of that tune. So let's control and get rid of this again. And let's do the extended clip. Now, these are pretty slick. Now, you can put this point to wherever you want to start. Remember, we started him right about there, right before he jumped. Right about, let's call it right there. And you can click on that and hit the E key. All I did was bring this to the end, and then I hit the E key, and it goes right to the point that I marked. Same thing again here, where we can bring this along here, and we'll end that there. Come and point at the end, hit the E key, extended clip. I can see where that would be a real time-saving measure between my hand here being here on the jog shuttle, and my other hand being here on the E key. Yeah, that could be a very fast way of getting things done. Here, let's go back up here and maybe show them both. Yeah. So that's those two together. We'll be back in just a second with more skills. Okay, we're all the way up to skill 80 already. So, and this is one of my favorite tools of all time here. This is just so slick, I just can't begin to, I'm tickled to death over it. This is called the nudge tool. And if you're going to do a really fine frame by frame edit, it's handy as can be. So we're still here in the trim tool, which usually means that we're gonna get a ripple edit out of the deal, meaning we don't have to mess around with the spaces in between. But what we can do is our guy here. Let's move our playhead to the end here, and then come down here with our marker and mark this back end. You see where we've got the little green light on there now? Okay. And down here on our speed editor is these two here. One's marked nudge left, which is the comma key. One is marked nudge right, which is the period key. And we're going to come back up here. And now watch what happens when I say nudge right or left. Whoops, maybe I've messed this up somehow. There we go. I just had the control head on it, which is my error. So what I'm doing now is I'm advancing this one frame at a time. Now, I have used this in the past where I had some sound get out of sync, and I was able to nudge my frame one frame at a time, right or left, to get my sound back in sync. It probably wouldn't have bothered anybody else, but at the time, it's like an old kung fu movie, and then they'd say a sentence that was out of whack and just drove me crazy. But anyway, great tool that. Moving on to 81 here in just a minute. Let me get it. Okay, skill 81, the roll edit. So whenever you hear somebody say this is how we roll, this is not what they meant, trust me. So with our aphasia, with the trim edit still selected, thank you, duh. There we can come down here between two cut points, and you see that line, that green line between the two, and when we click on it, and then we hold our mouse button down and just roll between the two, and you kind of see both of them move back and forth, yet the overall timing between the two edits has not altered. It's just how much of one you're showing compared to the other. Especially if you have two very similar clips of similar time, that's another important thing. So if you two slow-mo clips, that would be great to sync that up nicely. But you don't want to be mixing time if you can all avoid it. Now, another thing I want to show you guys real quick, just because we're so keyboard oriented, this is one I use a lot. So the way you can do this here with the keyboard, let me get that to focus. There we go. This button right here is marked roll, and it's right underneath the out button, and I can hold the roll button down and just move my jog shuttle right to left. Let me bring this back up here now so you can see it. Okay, so I've got it held down. You see the green in between there, and I'm just moving that to the right to left. No time has changed overall between the two clips, but just to show how much of one we want to see the other. So we see him, and the way to tie this up, you see he jumps over, he's coming on, and he is just above or just right at the crook of the stairwell or the stair rail, and we let that go. Let's play that real quick. Play around, / play around. Boom. See how that works out so nicely? Let's try play around one more time. He hits that. Boom. You see him run right up. So we have synced that together nicely, and that's a fine edit. All right. See you in 82, I think. Are we to 82 already? Wow. Well, all right. We're just about done. We're over here at the old slip and slide, and no, that's not the big orange piece of plastic in the backyard on the summer day. Slip edits and slide edits is another form of fine adjustment. So let's jump in over here on ours, and you'll notice that I have 3 clips set up, and I'm going to get rid of the maybe I'll try to scoot it over a little bit, see how that works. Get it out of the way so we can still see this, because the keyboard's going to be a handy thing here in a minute. So again, we see a couple of different brackets here. Outside of it, it's just as you can point to it and select it. The top mode here, if you put this in the middle and hold it down, you can kind of move the edit around a little bit. You can move the film around a little bit within the bounds of its handles. So if you have an in and out point marked, that's where we're going to move that and fine tune that. So you see where that guy is just started out. We want to come back here and how the back end of it's edited at the same time. So on the right side of the top left picture in the monitor, he kind of rolls down and gets stand up. So that's a nice edit. Okay. And then we can come over here to the other side and do just the same thing where we're tuning that in to just where it was, where we started. Very nice. Okay, so a fine thing, and another cool thing about this is it can also be done with the nudge key. So we're here, we have it lifted. We got to come over here and click on this guy and let it see the one that's highlighted here. And so we're going to hit our nudge right, nudge left. And that's just moving it 1 frame at a time. Okay, so that's slip, and now slide is, and that's why I chose to have the three. Um, Before I go too far, let me come here and it's just say speed editor only. There are two keys here: excuse me, slip source, slip destination. If I click and if I need to have my playhead here in close proximity, relatively close proximity of the cut itself, but I'm going to say if I say slip destination, which is right here, and click on that, you see that it got it highlighted that one. If I click on slip source, it enabled those handles on the other one, slip destination, slip source, and of course it always. And let me do that again for you. Slip destination, and it shows where it exists in with the white handles on either side of it. That shows the entirety of the clip. Or shows, and then there's the on either side of that. That's the entirety of that clip. So when we're slip destination, again, we can comes back up here and move it around frame by frame or lots more or whatever you want to do. And it gives you a marker down here too where I've came back 2 frames, I've gone forward 2 frames and let you know exactly where you're at. So there's slip. Here's slide. So I slide down to the bottom part of this where the title is on that clip, and I'm not moving it within the bounds of the in and out points anymore. I'm moving when I put my index finger down and right or left, I'm moving the in and out points within the bounds of the other clips on either side of it. So it gives you another methodology to fine tune this. On the bottom, we see he gets out towards out of the tree, rolls up onto his feet, and he matches the other clip at the top. Okay, slip and slide. Pretty easy stuff. All right, that's it for that one. And I'll be right back. All right, so the last skill here really isn't a skill, number 84, combining the edits and the examples of the past. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to jump out of this of the class that we're in here with Udemy. Then I'm going to take my I'm going to bring this over so you can see it. Come on, where'd it go? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clips to putting together that all require some form of fine adjustment, and then I'm going to edit those together. And while I'm filming that, and then render it out so you can see and what we've learned here, and then I'll render them separately and then put them together before I post them up on YouTube. So, and that's the way I've been trying to do all this stuff, but I've just now gotten to the point where I could explain that better. All right, let me get this back out of the way here. And let's get to work on editing our things together in its own timeline. All right, that will be that for that. See you in section 8 and enjoy the edit video. It may take 10 or 15 minutes to get through that. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. All right, let's go. So if I get stuck here for a minute, I'm just going to pause it and then catch up so you guys don't have to wait the painful time while I try to remember what I've done here. So let's start from scratch. I'm going to just put me and the computer up. I'm going to actually, you know what, I'll just put the entire screen itself up for right now and get things set up. And then when we need to, I'll show you the keyboard and what's happening there. So let's start with the scratch and starting DaVinci here. Here it comes. Lucky I have a fast computer, otherwise this takes forever to load. Okay, so new project, and we're going to call this section 7. Excuse me. Section 8 is what it really is here, isn't it? All right. And we're off and running. So let's come over here to the media pool. Click on our desktop, and we can see that when we click on that, we have already brought all of our stuff in. I guess you can see me now if you want to. Woohoo! And as always, I've labeled the beginning of each of these organization, as we've talked about, is king. So the first thing I do with every one of my clips is I give it a number that it belongs in line. So if it's number one, then I know it's the first one that's in place. And so I can literally just, uh, you know what? Let's go over here to the, how can I do this? We can do it one at a time, I guess, but that's inefficient. There's one. Let me get these 6 out of the way now, and you'll watch. Got to be a little more precise. Drag all those in. And my last one, number 8. So it automatically put everything right in line for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's slip over here to the edit. And there we have it. Now we can also, once again, since we're over here in edit already, we can highlight everything and bring it down all at once as well. And let's make this a little smaller so we can see everything that's happening. And so let's start with our fine trims. Okay, so there we go. Timeline. Right now it's catching up. So what does that mean to tell us? We got to go up to playback. We forgot to hit the render cache. We'll hit render cache in Smart, which should make everything fairly easy to run through here. Let's also run over to the inspector and turn the volume down on everything. Okay. We'll come back, and you see how I'm moving the volume down on all these guys here just because I don't want to be blowing eardrums out or having to compete with the noise while I'm showing this to you. And we'll balance all that out here in just a minute. Okay, so here we are at this clip, and let's see how it's doing here. So let's hit our zoom in, detail zoom. Where'd we go? There we go. So how's that looking? Let's hit play around, see how that works. 82 already? Wow. Well, all right, we're just about done. We're over here at the old slip and slide, and no, that's not the big orange piece of plastic in the. Bring the volume up here a touch so I can get an idea what's happening. All right, you see the 2 letters that just, or the 2 red blocks, that just means I desynced my sound here. I can inspector, bring that up just a touch, just so I can hear what's happening. Okay. And we're off here. Play around, see how that transition goes. All right, welcome back. Happy Fridays. Not what I was looking for. Okay, skill 76 here. How to edit. Stop that. Um, uh, Go back over and get ready to show you skill 76. All right, talk to you in a second. Okay, not a bad cut there. Skill 70. See if it'll let us put a. I've made a bad mistake here as I realize this. I need to give myself room when I'm recording to have handles in. See, if I try to put in uh, a um, an ease, for the transition here, it's not going to let me. It's only going to let me put a transition in on one side, which is true of all that now. So let's scoot down here a little bit. I'll just move that by hand. Let's see how this one is. Let's just move them both for now, just to save time. And we'll get ready for the next skill. Okay, right there. You see what I've done? What's happened here is I've got some time here to kill. So I think what we need to do is we need to trim that a bit. So let's zoom in. Where'd we go? Maybe zoom back out real quick. Okay, there's our mark. Okay. So how long has it been? Okay. Was I actually doing anything that entire time? Doesn't look like it. Oh, maybe. Okay, so let's get rid of this little bit right here. So what did I forget to do? Control Z. I forgot to come over here and be on the trim portion of this. Now I'm down here. I'm going to trim that back, and it ripple deleted for me right there. Okay. Okay. So based on our, see from here to there, now nothing's happening. I haven't said anything because we can tell from the sound line. So let's move that up using our trim function. And that created a weird edit. Are we not? We're not linked. That's what it is here. So now, let's try that again. See, we had to link our sound with our video. So now that should be a pretty timely cut. Okay, so maybe a little too timely. Let's back that off a touch. And that too. Try that again. Don't want to get it too jammed together. Okay, so skill. And so let's head down to our next cut. Maybe zoom out a little bit and see where we are. All right, should be right on the money for our next cut. Let's zoom back in. And we can see again where we were. That based on our sound underneath. And nothing really happens after the sound stops. So let's come over here and use our keys now. Let's try doing that. So we're going to go over to the computer and me, and I'm going to unhook this and move it up a little bit. Take the inspector down. See if we can make this a little bigger. And so here I'm going to try, there's the source. Here's the source slip. And we're going to bring that in a little bit here. And give ourselves a little room. And let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm using this key right here, slip source, to fine tune this. Okay. And then over here on the other side, I don't even have to move the control head. I can say source destination, and it automatically selects that. And please note that it's going to not, I don't know what it's doing here. I end up having to do that by hand. I don't know why, but we should have a relatively smooth transition now. Okay, on the yeah, that's nice. Let me try that one more time. All right, we'll see you in a second. Okay. Yeah, not bad. So a couple more to go here. I'm going to pause this and finish the rest of these trimmed in, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've had some kind of a malfunction when I was recording the editing of that, so I've got some of it in, some of it not. I did use everything I've got in there, and I will do a better job showing you the editing of Section 8, which will have a bunch of new tools in to showcase for you. My apologies for that. I will do better on the next one. Thank you very much. We got lots of these to go, so fear not. We'll get them all in there. Thanks.